Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the League One Lowdown podcast. My name is Sam, and this time I'm joined by Charlton fan Emma. Good evening, Emma.
Evening, how are you?
Oh, good, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on to talk about Charlton Athletic today. We're going to be looking at an in-depth review of your season so far, and then with less than 10 games to go in the League One season, you find yourself in fourth place, about 8 points off second place Wrexham after a disappointing result last time out, but still well in the hunt for a automatic promotion place. So the first question I've got for yourself is what made you become a Charlton Athletic fan?
So my eldest brother is a Charlton fan, and obviously, I mean, I'm 45 this year, and I started going when I was about 12. So I started going to the Valley. Well, obviously, we went back to the Valley in '92, but I sort of started going to away games roughly in '92 with my brother, and then obviously I sort of started going '93 properly. To the Valley. Obviously, you know, I've seen some really good times, I've seen some really bad times. Obviously, I'm married now. My husband is a Charlton fan as well, but obviously he doesn't go as much as I do. I'm a season ticket holder, and this is my second season of doing 100% home and away. So yeah, it's very expensive. It's very stressful at times.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, I'd probably say the highlights are probably '98 playoff final was incredible. It's probably one of the best games I've ever seen. Obviously, 2019 winning the league in 11-12. Yeah, and obviously this season, you know, we started well. We've had a bit of a blip. I'm sure we'll talk probably more about that. And obviously, you know, we're looking good at the moment. A shame about the result, obviously the weekend just gone, but tough game coming up tomorrow, so we'll see how we go.
Very much so. It's interesting you make the point of trying to do the every game, all 46 league games this year, especially with the Sky TV deal kicking games out of instead of Saturday 3:00. So like making, like, for example, yesterday we had one on a Thursday night. I think Charlton have been quite lucky not to have one on a Thursday night so far. Just how difficult is it for a match going fan? We talk about it quite a lot on our preview shows. How difficult is it for a match day fan nowadays trying to get to all these away games with Sky just moving games willy-nilly?
It can be a bit challenging. I mean, if I think, luckily, I'm in a job kind of where I do my own rotas, and I always try and keep days off and holidays sort of around my football. I don't work any Saturdays, which is part of the reason why I took the job, but I sort of fiddle my holidays and stuff around. Like, we've got Mansfield away next Tuesday night, you know, another really long game, and you know, I'm off the Tuesday, but I've had to take a day's holiday on the Wednesday because obviously we won't get back till early hours of the morning. I think when I think back, we've done obviously Burton has been a midweek, Bolton was midweek. You know, we've Preston was obviously midweek in the FA Cup. We've had some real long drags this season in midweek, and it isn't easy. You know, I think for Bolton we took maybe 300-400, but you know, they're your hardy fans that you see week in, week out, no matter what. And you know, I actually really like the midweek games because you see the sort of same regular faces that you see all the time, and it's really nice to catch up with them. And I'm a strange one. I actually don't prefer it when we take a big crowd. I quite like the regular sort of 1,000 or so. Like, obviously we took nearly 3,000 to Peterborough on Saturday, and I find the more fans we take, the worse we do. I know it sounds really stupid, but I think back to when we took 3,000 at Reading and we lost. So yeah, the more we take, the worse we seem to do.
It just seems a bit more added pressure. Because obviously your form at the start of the season, I think, was fair to say was very mixed. You found yourself, I think it was in 14th place after match day 19, and you now find yourself in fourth. What do you think has been the key to sort of making Charlton a really top League One side again in the last sort of 20 games?
Do you know what it is? I think we've found our consistency, and the players have found their consistency, and they're working really well as a team. If I think back to the summer and the players we got in, you know, Berry, Doherty, you know, they were players who experienced. Godden, obviously we got Alex Mitchell from Millwall, and you know, we made some really good signings as well as the sort of academy players we already had. But obviously we went through a really bad spell, and it was bemusing to see. You know, I remember going to Bristol Rovers and another sort of midweek. I think that was maybe a Friday night, but um, and we lost 3-2, and we were awful. And and afterward, our next game was Birmingham at home, and we was like, oh my god, we're gonna get battered. And I remember speaking to Nathan Jones after the game, and I was like, right, big game Saturday, Gaffer, and he was like, massive, massive, and we won it 1-0, and it was like, what, like. How did we do this, and where has this team been all season? But I think it's the lack of those players that we've signed maybe turning up. Like
Mhm.
Doherty got dropped earlier in the season because he was so poor. Berry wasn't delivering what he should have been delivering for a player that has stepped down from the Premier League.
Mm.
You know, and we were hit a bit by injuries. Unfortunately, we lost Lloyd Jones for I think about 7 or 8 games, which is a massive, massive loss. Kane Ramsey did his MCL as well and was out, I think, for 3 months. So those injuries really affected us because they were probably 2 of our most key players. But I'd say we've just found form, and it's like watching a different team. It's honestly unbelievable. I don't think we're fully polished yet. I think there is some work to do. Like we seem to lack the ability to get a decent ball into the box, and
Mm.
obviously again we are a little bit hit by injuries. You know, Miles Leaburn has picked up a knock. Obviously, Daniel Carnu, our young academy striker, has again picked up a knock. And obviously we got players like Ghassan Hadmi, who we signed from Cambridge, who was probably our most expensive signing
Mm.
in the summer, who hasn't exactly hit the ground running. You know, he's not really lived up to maybe what fans thought he was going to do. But I'm waiting for the gas redemption arc really, because we are playing a bit better football now, and I think more to a style that would suit him. So I'm actually really excited to see maybe him give a more of a chance now, and hopefully he can kick on a little bit, because obviously Godden being 33, it's hard for him to play 90 minutes week in, week out.
Yeah, it was interesting you mentioned Lloyd Jones because he's a defender I've watched quite a lot of, and when you
Mm,
take him obviously out of, to be fair, your defence pretty solid. You only conceded 35 goals so far this
yeah.
season, which is one of the best in the league. Like you take to be fair, he's quite experienced as well for his age in terms of how
Mm,
many games he's played. And you take that out, you've got Macaulay Gillespie next to him, who's a promotion winner as well. And with
mm,
the system you sort of play, I remember when you played us at our place and you scored 2 headers in injury time. Just the physical threat from set pieces, especially where you've been so effective. I think a third of your goals have come from set pieces so far this season.
mm,
And it just shows how the game sort of evolved as well. A club like Wickham, for example, they score a lot more goals from open play. So it's just the different areas of football where your strengths lie. It's set pieces and defending your box very well, and a different side where it's a bit more free flowing.
mm.
So going back to the start of the season, all the way back, if you cast your mind back to July, start of the season, what were your expectations with big manager in Nathan Jones, who obviously ended the season quite well? You were in a bit of a perilous position when he came in. Lots of
Mm.
draws towards the end of the season. You had a very decent summer, I must say. What were your expectations? Were you expecting to be in the top 6, maybe just top half finish?
I mean, I predicted us to finish 6.
Mhm.
Obviously, my team on the Charlton Chronicles, we were kind of a bit all over the shop. I know Josh predicted us to finish 7th.
Mhm.
I think it was going to be a tough league. Obviously, we all knew Birmingham were going to win the title. There was no doubt about that. So it was down to who was going to get the next, 5 places. And I thought we would scrape 6, but I think, we started well, and I thought, great, this is going to be really good. When we kind of went into that slide, I was like, yeah, this is not going to happen, is it? Like, we were started to drop right down, and it was like, oh God, what are we going to do? But yeah, I mean, I'm very happy. I'd obviously like us to maintain 3rd or 4th if we can, because I'd really
Mm.
like the second leg at home, which I think would give us a major advantage. Our home form is a lot better than our away form,
Mm.
so I think if we can hold on to 4th place, I think, that's going to be a good position for us, going into the playoffs. But yeah, I'm more than happy where we are now. I think, automatics are a bit far off now. I think obviously the result against Peterborough didn't really help. And
Mm.
obviously Wrexham beating Wickham obviously didn't help. It would have been ideal if that was a draw. but you can't. What I always say is you can't rely on the teams around you, can you? You've just got to keep doing what you're doing. But I think we have to worry more about the teams below us now. And Bolton have been playing well. You guys have picked up a bit more form. Obviously Huddersfield are in there. They're holding that 6th place. So obviously tomorrow's game's going to be massive to see where we really are at. And obviously we've still got Wrexham and Wickham to play as well. So yeah, really big games coming up for us.
Yeah, 100%. It's good that you mentioned your home form, because you're currently 3rd in the home form table with 12 wins, 5 draws and 2 defeats, compared to your away form, which is 10th best. You've got 7 wins, 4 draws and 8 defeats. So you've obviously spoken about how the season's gone so far, and you're fairly content, which is not surprising where you sit in the table after where you were. Looking ahead to the run-in then, you've obviously mentioned you've got Wickham and Wrexham. So your full run-in, you've got Huddersfield at home, obviously this weekend, which is a big game considering where Huddersfield's form's been so up and down. They've got Joe Worthington now in charge, and they've just come back off a huge win against Crawley. You've got away to Mansfield, as you've mentioned. You've got home to Lincoln City, away to Cambridge United, home to Northampton, and then away at Wickham and Wrexham, and at home to Burton on the final day. So I'm going to ask you the perilous question. How many wins do you think you're going to get from your final 8 games?
I think the only games we won't win are going to be Huddersfield, Wrexham and Wickham. I'm fancying 3 draws, if I'm honest, but I would take 3 draws against that. I'd love to beat Wrexham at their place, don't get me wrong. I've already said if one of our players scores a 90th minute winner, I'm going to run around and do a conga outside the racecourse ground. But I can see draws for those 3, and I think the others are more than winnable. So I'm pretty confident we could beat Lincoln, Burton, bless them. I love Burton, it's my favourite away day, but I think they're all easily winnable games, and we've got to make sure we don't slip up against those teams, that we should be smashing, really.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've listened to, I'm sure you have, some of Nathan Jones's press conferences. The ones that the Blue Water comment was quite interesting. You probably know a lot more about Nathan Jones than me. What has he installed in this Charlton side that at the start of the season looked so fragile to being one of the most consistent teams in the division, seem to be able to grind now a result which they couldn't seem to do?
Do you know what? He's just got everyone on board, everyone with his vision. I think he can talk a really good game. I think tactically he's a really good manager. I think it just took him a while to gel this team together. The players really believe in him. I was at the sponsors lunch on Monday at the training ground, and the players speak very highly of him. They all say he's a bit of a nutter, like in the dressing room. But I mean, if you've ever watched him on the touchline, he is mad. I always say he's like one of them little angry gremlins. But yeah, he certainly is a character. I don't really see him as much of a people person.
Yeah.
But he seems to get the best out of these players, and I've always said I don't care what the manager's like as long as they get the best out of these players, and he obviously does. And he always fist pumps at the crowd at the end when we win, and it's nice to feel that kind of connection. Obviously he was with us. He used to manage our academy back in the day, so he knows the club very well. He knows what we're all about. He gets Charlton, so and I think that's really important. But yeah, I mean, the players just believe in him, and obviously, Lloyd Jones signed a new contract, which was I actually sponsor Lloyd Jones. He's my favourite player. I love him to bits, but to get him to sign a new contract when you had Wickham bidding for him and Luton bidding for him, and I know Wickham were giving it the big I am. I will come to us, if we go in for anyone, they come to us. And I was like, he won't come to you, because he'd played under Nathan Jones at Luton, and I knew they had a really good relationship, and I was pretty confident that he would stay. But to be able to secure him when you've got championship clubs interested in him shows the kind of manager that he is.
Yeah.
So players want, and obviously Luke Berry to drop from Premiership to obviously League One again because he'd played with Jones. It shows the kind of manager that he is and how he can attract those names. Same with Doherty. I'm sure there were other clubs that probably wanted him, and now he's found his feet in the team. He's been brilliant.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like the player that I stood out for me was Campbell when he came to our place.
Right,
Like
yeah.
a really direct, tricky winger. And I think a lot of teams, when you look at the top teams in League One, you look at Birmingham, they've got pace out wide. You look at Wrexham, they're a bit of an anomaly because they're just a big physical experience side. Wickham have pace out wide. Yourselves have pace out wide. And football, I don't know if you've noticed, I don't know if you see the same as me, but football's evolved a lot this year in terms of every team seemed to have this tippy tappy sort of way. Like under Dean Holden, you're a bit more of a tippy tappy sort of side, I called it. And this year, you're so much more direct and very, very strong on the counter attack. In terms of your summer recruitment, if you're in the Championship, what's the one position you'd say you'd need? And if you're in League One, what's the one position you'd say you need to buy?
See, I'm very in between. I mean, we've had a lot of clean sheets this year, but I don't feel we've got a proper experienced keeper. Obviously, you know, we signed Will Mannion from Cambridge, but I don't think he was ever meant to be the number one. You know, we were in for Asmir Begovic at one point. You know, he was at Sparrows Lane, but I think his wages were too high. You know, his demand, so we didn't sign him. But and obviously we've got Ashley Maynard Brewer who came through our academy. But I'd say they've both got strengths and weaknesses. I mean, if you could mix them together, they'd probably make the perfect keeper. But for me, it would either be a goalkeeper or I'd be looking at a striker. Obviously, you know, like I said, Gas hasn't hit the ground running. You've got Chukwuemeka, who's probably going to be leaving the club in the summer. He's probably more towards the end of his career. And, you know, it's a real shame because I love Chuks, but if, you know, he hadn't had the injuries he's had, he probably would have been playing in the Championship, not with us. And obviously Matty Godden being 33, you know, can he sustain another full season either in the Championship or in League One? So I'm going to be greedy and say I'd like two. So goalkeeper and striker for me. But then I could say we need an attacking mid as well. So I'd probably say there's three positions. So
lots more creativity and a sure face in goal.
yeah.
I think that's fair enough. And obviously we've got 8 games left. Do you want another Patrick Bauer moment in the playoff final?
Oh no, I don't. I don't want another Naby Sarr moment where he passed it. Oh God, don't. I'm glad I was a little bit drunk that day. In all honesty, no, I'd like a comfortable win, but do you know what? If it stays the 6, you know, the 4 that are there now, Wickham, us, Stockport, and Huddersfield, it's going to be a really bloody tough playoff. You know, Stockport, we played them away. Oh, they're aggressive, they're tough. I mean, I would love us to win the playoffs, but I worry if we get Stockport. To be fair,
So they're
I
the team
really
you're worried
do.
about. Okay.
They're the team I'm probably most worried about, yeah.
Yeah, the playoffs are obviously the best way, I personally think, to go up. Having experienced playoff heartbreak myself, it's the worst way to lose a promotion playoff as well. In terms of the teams chasing, so we'll go with Bolton, Orient, and Reading, and hopefully they don't get a points deduction. Which one, if any of them, do you think could sneak into the playoffs and going into the final stretch?
Oh. I mean, Reading have been playing really well, and all kudos to them, really, because with what they're going through, it's a squad that, you know, if I was a Reading fan, I'd be incredibly proud of. I fancy Bolton to sneak in.
Okay.
They seem to be really doing really well since they got rid of Ian Evatt. So
yeah, I'd agree with that. And finally, to finish off, we're going to have a quick fire question round. It'll be based on around Charlton. So in terms of, it'll be a quick fire answer. So favourite ground you've been to?
Oh God. Oh.
Lots to pick from.
Oh God, that's really difficult. Oh. Villa Park.
Villa Park, okay. Worst ground you've been to?
Oh, Gillingham.
Oh, the away end, yeah.
Oh,
It's brilliant. Yeah. Best food you've had at an away ground?
Oh. Do you know what? I don't normally eat at away grounds. Oh.
No.
Do you know what? I won't say my food, but what my husband had was lovely. Crawley. He had
Okay,
fish
yeah.
and chips, and it was banging.
Yeah. Best away fans you've seen this season?
Ooh. At the Valley. Ooh.
Yeah.
Not Birmingham.
But we give Birmingham enough stick on this podcast. They'll be in the
Yeah,
comment
not.
section after
Do
you
you
now.
know what? They sold it out, but they were so quiet. They were awful. Oh God, there's been a few good ones actually. Mm. Oh, it's really difficult. I don't know. No, I don't know.
No?
To be
No,
honest,
okay.
no. We'll just
Your
say not. We'll say not
We'll
Birmingham.
say not Birmingham. They get enough plaudits anyway. Your player of the season so far for Charlton?
Lloyd Jones.
Lloyd Jones. And the most disappointing player this season for Charlton?
Oh,
Put you on the spot with that one.
oh yeah, that's a tough one because I don't like to. Oh, I am normally the one that will be like, right, them. Probably Gassan had me, I would
Yeah.
say, just because he hasn't really done what we thought he was going to do. So
Okay. And then to wrap up, the final question: are Charlton Athletic going to be a championship club next season?
yes.
Yes. Cool. That was probably the answer all Charlton fans were looking for. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Emma. It's been a pleasure having you on.
No problem at all.
If you want to go and look at more of Emma's content, it's the Charlton Chronicle. Is that correct?
Charlton Chronicles, yeah, and I'm also the Charlton fan pundit for Football League World as well. So if you type in Charlton on Football League World's website, you will often see my name pop up with their articles. So
Marvellous. So if you want some more Charlton content, go over there. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to us as well if you like your League One content. Thank you, Emma, for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you all in the next promotion race interview.